Hello and welcome to day 151 in the Not Alone Today chronological Bible reading plan with Joseph and Anu. Today we are reading 2 Chronicles chapter 21 all the way to verse 9 of chapter 22. Then we'll cross over to 2 Kings and pick up from where we left off as we consider chapters 11 and 12. We are still in the New International Version for this week.
2 Chronicles chapter 21. Then Jehoshaphat rested with his ancestors and was buried with them in the city of David. And Jehoram, his son, succeeded him as king. Jehoram's brothers, the sons of Jehoshaphat, were Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Azariahu, Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were sons of Jehoshaphat, king of Israel. Their father had given them many gifts of silver and gold and articles of value, as well as fortified cities in Judah. But he had given the kingdom to Jehoram because he was the firstborn son.
When Jehoram established himself firmly over his father's kingdom, he put all his brothers to the sword along with some of the officials of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. He followed the ways of the kings of Israel as the house of Ahab had done, for he married a daughter of Ahab. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Nevertheless, because of the covenant the Lord had made with David, the Lord was not willing to destroy the house of David. He had promised to maintain a lamp for him and for his descendants forever.
In the time of Jehoram, Edom rebelled against Judah and set up its own king. So Jehoram went there with his officers and all his chariots. The Edomites surrounded him and his chariots commanders, but he rose up and broke through by night. To this day, Edom has been in rebellion against Judah.
Libnah revolted at the same time because Jehoram had forsaken the Lord, the God of his ancestors. He had also built high places on the hills of Judah and had caused the people of Jerusalem to prostitute themselves and had led Judah astray.
Jehoram received a letter from Elijah the prophet, which said, "This is what the Lord, the God of your father David says. You have not followed the ways of your father Jehoshaphat, or of King Asa, king of Judah, but you have followed the ways of the kings of Israel, and you have led Judah and the people of Jerusalem to prostitute themselves, just as the house of Ahab did. You have also murdered your own brothers, members of your own family, men who were better than you. So now the Lord is about to strike your people, your sons, your wives, and everything that is yours with a heavy blow. You yourself will be very ill with a lingering disease of the bowels until the disease causes your bowels to come out."
The Lord aroused against Jehoram the hostility of the Philistines and of the Arabs who lived near the Cushites. They attacked Judah, invaded it, and carried off all the goods found in the king's palace, together with his sons and wives. Not a son was left to him except Ahaziah, the youngest.
After all this, the Lord afflicted Jehoram with an incurable disease of the bowels. In the course of time, at the end of the second year, his bowels came out because of the disease, and he died in great pain. His people made no funeral fire in his honor as they had for his predecessors.
Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. He passed away to no one's regret and was buried in the city of David, but not in the tombs of the kings.
Chapter 22. The people of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, Jehoram's youngest son, king in his place, since the raiders who came with the Arabs into the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, king of Judah, began to reign.
Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri.
He too followed the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother encouraged him to act wickedly. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done. For after his father's death, they became his advisors to his undoing. He also followed their counsel when he went with Joram, son of Ahab, king of Israel, to wage war against Hazael, king of Aram, at Ramoth Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, so he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds they had inflicted on him at Ramoth in his battle with Hazael, king of Aram. Then Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went to Jezreel to see Joram, son of Ahab, because he had been wounded.
Through Ahaziah's visits to Joram, God brought about Ahaziah's downfall. When Ahaziah arrived, he went out with Joram to meet Jehu, son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. While Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, he found the officials of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's relatives, who had been attending Ahaziah, and he killed them. He then went in search of Ahaziah, and his men captured him while he was hiding in Samaria. He was brought to Jehu and put to death. They buried him, for they said, he was a son of Jehoshaphat who sought the Lord with all his heart. So there was no one in the house of Ahaziah powerful enough to retain the kingdom.
2 Kings chapter 11. When Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to destroy the whole royal family. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram and sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the royal princes who were about to be murdered. She put him and his nurse in a bedroom to hide them from Athaliah, so he was not killed. He remained hidden with his nurse at the temple of the Lord for 6 years, while Athaliah ruled the land.
In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent for the commanders of units of 100, the Karites and the guards, and had them brought to him at the temple of the Lord. He made a covenant with them and put them under oath at the temple of the Lord. Then he showed them the king's son. He commanded them, saying, "This is what you are to do. You who are in the 3 companies that are going on duty on the Sabbath, a third of you guarding the royal palace, a third at the Sur gate, and a third at the gate behind the guard, who take turns guarding the temple. And you who are in the other 2 companies that normally go off Sabbath duty are all to guard the temple for the king. Station yourselves around the king, each of you with weapon in hand. Anyone who approaches your ranks is to be put to death. Stay close to the king wherever he goes."
The commanders of units of 100 did just as Jehoiada the priest ordered. Each one took his men, those who were going on duty on the Sabbath and those who were going off duty, and came to Jehoiada the priest. Then he gave the commanders the spears and shields that belonged to King David and that were in the temple of the Lord. The guards, each with weapon in hand, stationed themselves around the king, near the altar and the temple, from the south side to the north side of the temple.
Jehoiada brought out the king's son and put the crown on him. He presented him with a copy of the covenant and proclaimed him king. They anointed him, and the people clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king!"
When Athaliah heard the noise made by the guards and the people, she went to the people at the temple of the Lord. She looked, and there was a king standing by the pillar as the custom was. The officers and the trumpeters were beside the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her robes and called out, "Treason! Treason!"
Jehoiada the priest ordered the commanders of units of 100 who were in charge of the troops, "Bring her out between the ranks and put to the sword anyone who follows her." For the priest had said, "She must not be put to death in the temple of the Lord." So they seized her as she reached the place where the horses entered the palace grounds, and there she was put to death.
Jehoiada then made a covenant between the Lord and the king and people that they would be the Lord's people. He also made a covenant between the king and the people. All the people of the land went to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They smashed the altars and idols to pieces and killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars.
Then Jehoiada the priest posted guards at the temple of the Lord. He took with him the commanders of hundreds, the Karites, the guards, and all the people of the land, and together they brought the king down from the temple of the Lord and went into the palace, entering by way of the gate of the guards. The king then took his place on the royal throne. All the people of the land rejoiced, And the city was calm because Athaliah had been slain with the sword at the palace.
Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign.
In the 7th year of Jehu, Joash became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 40 years. His mother's name was Zibiah. She was from Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all the years Jehoiada the priest instructed him. The high places, however, were not removed. The people continued to offer sacrifices and burn incense there.
Joash said to the priests, "Collect all the money that is brought as sacred offerings to the temple of the Lord, the money collected in the census, the money received from personal vows, and the money brought voluntarily to the temple. Let every priest receive the money from one of the treasurers, then use it to repair whatever damage is found in the temple."
But by the 23rd year of King Joash, the priests still had not repaired the temple. Therefore King Joash summoned Jehoiada the priest and the other priests and asked them, "Why aren't you repairing the damage done to the temple? Take no more money from your treasurers, but hand it over for repairing the temple." The priests agreed that they would not collect any more money from the people and that they would not repair the temple themselves.
Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bored a hole in its lid. He placed it beside the altar on the right side as one enters the temple of the Lord. The priests who guarded the entrance put into the chest all the money that was brought to the temple of the Lord. Whenever they saw that there was a large amount of money in the chest, the royal secretary and the high priest came, collected the money that had been brought into the temple of the Lord, and put it into bags. When the amount had been determined, they gave the money to the men appointed to supervise the work on the temple. With it, they paid those who worked on the temple of the Lord, the carpenters and builders, the masons and stonecutters. They purchased timber and blocks of dressed stones for the repair of the temple of the Lord, and met all the over expenses of restoring the temple.
The money brought into the temple was not spent for making silver basins, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, trumpets, or any other articles of gold or silver for the temple of the Lord. It was paid to the workers who used it to repair the temple. They did not require an accounting from those to whom they gave the money to pay the workers because they acted with complete honesty. The money from the guilt offerings and sin offerings was not brought into the temple of the Lord. It belonged to the priests.
About this time, Hazael, king of Aram, went up and attacked Gath and captured it. Then he returned to attack Jerusalem. But Joash, king of Judah, took all the sacred objects dedicated to his predecessors, Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, and Ahaziah, the kings of Judah, and the gifts he himself had dedicated, and all the gold found in the treasuries of the temple of the Lord and of the royal palace, and he sent them to Hazael, king of Aram, who then withdrew from Jerusalem.
As for the other events of the reign of Joash and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? His officials conspired against him and assassinated him at Beth Millo on the road down to Sila. The officials who murdered him were Jozabad, son of Shimeath, and Jehozabad, son of Shomar. He died and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. And Amaziah, his son, succeeded him as king. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Today we read about 4 chapters. In chapter 21, we read the Chronicles account of the same story we read yesterday concerning Jehoram, the king of Judah, and Ahaziah, who succeeded him. That was in chapter 22. And then in 2 Kings chapter 11, we read the story of Athaliah, the wicked matriarch that usurped the throne when there was an opportunity, killing all the rightful potential candidates for the throne, unknown to her that a little baby was rescued with his nurse, and they remained at the temple for 6 years. And when the boy was 7, the priests would go on to crown him as the king, the youngest king in the Holy Scriptures. And he ruled for 40 years. In chapter 12, we were given the details of the account of his tenure, especially regarding the vast repairs that he made to the temple in Jerusalem. And that's the parts we covered for today. So let's go back to look at the things that stood out to us. In chapters 21 and 22, which is a repeat of what we read yesterday, what stood out to you?
Verse 20 stood out to me. How Jehoram passed away to no one's regret.
Yeah.
Just that word, he passed away to no one's regret. Like it's sad how he passed away. Yeah. What about you?
Same phrase leapt off the page when we read it. Like, oh wow, that's quite an account of someone's life. I mean, it just calls back to mind one former head of state in Nigeria that's passed away and everybody took to the streets to rejoice. So yeah, there is such a thing as passing away to no one's regret. Like nobody's going to miss this one.
And it's quite interesting again how we're told that he died in pain. In great pain. We've heard about kings that would do bad things. I think there was one that had the foot disease. But we didn't hear that he died in great pain. But this person died in great pain. And there was no funeral fire for him. Passed away to no one's regret. All because of a petty disobedience.
And was not buried in the tomb of kings.
What should have been dishonoring, isn't it?
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed, yeah. Okay, let's move on to 2 Kings 11 and 12. Athaliah and Joash. What stood out to you?
Whilst I was reading this part, I made copious notes, names of all the people involved and all of that. And I'm very wowed with Jehoiada's strategy.
Yeah.
Before he brought the king out, he first guarded around the temple and also stationed guards with the king and then brought the king out. Even after he had coronated the king and killed Athaliah, when they were proceeding to go to the throne, he still made sure that the guards were with the king.
Yeah.
So it's not just that, Athaliah has died, he's now the king, end of. It was still as valiant as it was when the boy was living in the temple. And I found that very instructive.
Very indeed. Indeed. What stood out to me is in chapter 11, verse 20, which is similar to what we read concerning Joram, how that nobody missed him after his death. He also says here in 11:20 of 2 Kings that all the people of the land actually rejoiced and the city was calm. Why? Because Athaliah had been slain with the sword at the palace. Again, just a reminder to envision occasionally how we want to be remembered when we are gone and have that begin to shape our decisions and actions in the now. But for Athaliah, the game is over and now it's too late. Chapter 12, is there anything stood out to you?
Verse 9 to 12 stood out to me.
Okay.
Like a description of what our offering looks like these days. You know, in most of Church of England, at the back, there's always this box, this like a chest with a hole in its lid where you're meant to put the offering in. And I read that, I felt like, so that was what they do. And when at the end of chapter verse 12, they said that they used the money received, the offerings received, to meet all other expenses of restoring the temple.
Yeah.
Then again, brought to my church administration. However, our offerings are important, basically. It does go to work. So when I read that, I was like, nice to see where it started from.
Indeed. For me, it's verse 15 in the spirit of that accountability when it says they did not require an accounting from those to whom they gave the money to pay the workers. Why? Because they acted with complete honesty. And that's really striking and quite a virtue to emulate
Very
from
virtuous.
those people. Yeah. We continue to see the ups and downs, the topsy-turvy roller coaster of tenure after tenure, kingdom after kingdom, king after king, both in the book of 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles. So we flip the page again on day 152 as we continue in the accounts both in Kings and Chronicles. But till then, just remember,
you're not alone.
Today, God bless you.